Hey folks, Phil from the future here. If you have a limited amount of time and you only have time to watch one round, I recommend round 4 versus Death and Taxes. It includes one of the strangest and sickest pop-offs of all time. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Top Decked, and we'll take a look at them after round 1. So we're going to be playing a Turbo Muxus deck list today. Credit for the design goes to Ustinius from my Discord, who posted that they did well at a local event with this deck list, and it's super spicy. So in case you're not familiar with Muxus, Muxus is like the Goblin King. So when it ETBs, you reveal to tap 6 cards of your library, and you put all Goblin creature cards with mana value 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So what we are going to try to do with this deck list is play Muxus as consistently as possible. And we've got a few ways to do that. Goblin Lackey and Warren Instigator both allow you to cheat goblins into play from your hand. And that's going to be our easiest and fastest way to do that. Skirk Prospector lets us sacrifice goblins for mana, and wouldn't you know it, there's some goblins that make more goblins, and that makes our job relatively easy. And the thing that really sets this design over the top is actually Sneak Attack. So we can get to 4 mana, play Sneak Attack, and then just start ripping Muxus into play. With haste, I might add. And Muxus does have another ability that whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other goblin you control. There's a few cute interactions in this deck list. Sling Gang Lieutenant is a sacrifice outlet, and that plays very well with both Pashalic Mons, which gives us an extra ping each time we sacrifice a goblin, as well as Goblin Sharpshooter, which gets to untap each time a creature dies. Now, I have some questions in terms of deck design here. For example, there is a Goblin King in this deck list, which gives our creatures Mountain Walk, which, if we're playing against something like Blue-Red Delver, means that our creatures are effectively unblockable. I'm not sure if that's better than just, playing another Goblin Lord. So, we're not maxing out on Chieftains in this deck list, and I really like Haste in Muxus decks. Getting a Muxus into play usually means that you win. But if you get a Muxus into play and it has haste, the game is over right now. There is no chance for your opponent to attack you in the air with a giant Murktide or Merit Lodge or something like that. The game is just over. So I'm a little unsure if we're not maxing out on Chieftains and Goblin War Chiefs if we're supposed to be playing Goblin Kings. But this deck list is sweet enough that I'm going to play it as is and see how I feel about it come the end of the league. Speaking of that Mountain Walk, we do have sideboard Blood Moons, which means that, we can, forcibly make all of our creatures unblockable with that 2-card combo, which is kind of cute. More generally, we just have stuff here that's going to fight against Delver, right? We have the ability to help keep the graveyard in check, we have Pyroblasts for our Murktide Regents and friends, and that's basically it as far as the sideboard goes. Goblin Pile Drivers can be an effective way to race combo deck lists, and is also pretty good against Teferi decks and whatnot. So that's in the board, as well as some Mindbreak traps to stop unfair combo decks. We're gonna play some goblins today, and it is going to be a lot of fun. Generally speaking, I've found that decks focusing on Muxus are very powerful. They're a little bit inconsistent, and sometimes the Muxus gets stuck in your hand, but holy moly, you do some gross things. Anyway, if you're new here, please consider subscribing if you like what you see and want to see other fun deck lists like this. And if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. That is the easiest way to support my content for free. If you want to support me in a financial way, and you have the means to do so, please consider becoming a YouTube member, a Patreon supporter, or doing a donation deck list to get one of your own decks featured on the channel. Let's battle. Okay, this is a no-lander. That's no good. Alright. I guess. I'm not, totes excited about this hand or anything, but this hand probably does something pretty gross around turn 4. And that's probably on pace for this deck list. I'm going to need some more mana in order to do the gross things that I want to do. So we are playing against, presumably Delver here. So I think we're just chilling for the time being. My opponent is probably like, what the fuck is going on over there, Phil? Oh, Ancient Tomb is a sick draw. I am not sure if I want to put any of my cards under this Chrome Mox. Like, Ringleader is an uncounterable reload here. I think I am going to just play out Sneak Attack with the intention of intentionally getting this card countered, and then, like, using uncounterable Cavern of Souls shenanigans in the not-too-distant future. Oh, nice, we got a Show and Tell. Or, sorry, we got a Force of Will. Ooh, and a Murktide out of that. And then next turn I have uncounterable Muxus, which I like a lot. My opponent right now is probably going like, what the fuck is the black for? Like, why is this black? Sneak Attack. I'm a little annoyed if my Ancient Tomb eats a Wasteland, but I guess if that eats a Wasteland, then Cavern isn't. And, like, that's definitely worth something. Alright, there's Expressive Iteration, which can find a Wasteland and be very strong. Okay. So opponent put Scalding Tarn into exile and then Wastelanded me. I don't know if that was a very good Expressive Iteration that they just cast. I think I want to Chrome Mox my Matron and then play Uncounterable Ringleader. I think I want that acceleration. And, like, this is very unlikely to get countered. There's Matron. There's Cavern on Goblin. And then this will almost certainly recoup the card advantage from Chrome Mox here. Nice. There's a Lackey and a Matron. And I can go ahead and bash in for a little bit of damage. I draw another Ancient Tomb. I can Muxus immediately. Otherwise, I just, like, play a fair game. Okay, we can probably Muxus next turn. None of this stuff is going to have haste. Crash in with a 2/2. Bring my opponent to 12. I think I am just going to play a counterable Goblin Lackey here. An uncounterable Goblin Matron. Alright, I think I'm going to get the stupid unblockable card. Like, Goblin King sounds pretty good on this board. Just make my Lackey unblockable for sure. That may be being cute. No, it sounds pretty good. That's one of my easiest ways to just, like, race my opponent's board. In the event that a Murktide Regent happens. Alright, there's another land drop. Ledger Shredder is fine. I'd like to just draw a land and just cast Muxus. I did not. This is a little awkward, because I might be offering up Goblin Lackey to Lightning Bolt here in a way that I don't like. But I think it's happening. Yeah. Yeah, so what can happen is, like, Goblin King can get Lightning Bolted. And then Goblin Lackey can be blocked. Like, look like it might be Brazen Borrower, though. Yeah, it's Brazen Borrower instead. That's okay. Like, this is still 3 damage on a board where I'm pretty far ahead, and I can kind of repeat similar lines next turn. Having both my swamps very specifically right now is a pretty big annoyance. This is my opponent's 3rd expressive iteration of this game. I basically only care about Wasteland right now, I think. Like, I think I am going to beat out a Murktide Regent that's played out pretty easily. I just care about, like, this Cavern getting Wastelanded, so I don't get to slip Muxus into play. Yeah, cool, we've dodged that. Bobble is fine. And we're looking for any mana source, including a Mox. Okay, there is the Murktide Regent, so, like, pressure is on. I can potentially just win through that. This is 2 damage. This is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 next turn. I do die in some worlds. And double swamp, little costly here as well. Alright, let's Goblin King. Allows me to actually attack this turn. Send those in. My opponent's a 2. So I'm going to die to Bolt. Essentially. Cool, cool. Yeah. Super unfortunate to miss on mana for so long. Opponent also just has another Murktide Regent, which is also unfortunate. My opponent has realized that they do just have lethal on board. That's fine. It's annoying. It's like, I have that game so locked up with a single mana source at any point. Or my opponent not having the Brazen Borrower. But such is life. Like, best deck in the format is best deck in the format. Surprise Pikachu face. Okay, so I have 6 cards that I would like to board in for this matchup. I don't really need Trash Master. I don't really feel like the whole, like, Goblin Sharpshooter Pashalik Mons thing is super necessary here. These small pings are not going to kill my opponent's, like, X3 creatures. And that means I'm going to need 2 more cuts. I still like the sneak attack, like, for Muxus. I think this is a card that just has to be countered or it takes over the game. Probably get rid of a Warren Instigator. That's just redundancy. And unsure on the last cut. Maybe it's one like Chrome Mox or Skirk Prospector. Try Chrome Mox. This is a hand that has super stable mana, but it doesn't actually do anything. I'm not sure if that's fine. I have a feeling the answer is no, and I should just mulligan this. This is another kind of medium-looking hand that doesn't really do anything. On 6, I might keep this. But, like, I'm just, like, really not excited about it. I'm not doing anything broken here. I have 2 early removal spells. I don't have enough mana. I'm gonna ship this. Alright. At this point, I'm keeping. A Skirk Prospector goes back. And honestly, I think I'm gonna get rid of a Pyroblast as well. And just very much count on this Goblin Ringleader to do Goblin Ringleader things and redeem this hand. I'm not really in the market for sacrificing cards and going down further to, like, speed this up. Like, I could have played turn 1 Cavernous Holes, Prospector into turn 2 Ringleader, but I don't think I like that. So I'm very much afraid of Wasteland. Yeah, sure. Right, I'm not getting Wastelanded immediately, which is, sorry. I guess, like, you know, this land is not the one that's going to be Wastelanded, right? My opponent's not going to show that there. Chrome Mox is basically a dead draw. I am going to play out Cavern here. I do not want the Ancient Tomb to get Wastelanded because I think the Ancient Tomb is really important to me doing anything good with the Ringleader and the follow-up cards. Like, while the damage matters, I think the mana matters more. Sure thing. Alright, my opponent does have a Wasteland for this first Cavern, which is unfortunate, but that's recoverable. Again, I think I hide the Ancient Tomb. I'll put that on Goblin and pass my turn. So, Murktide Regent is officially scary, as it always is, about a turn 3, which is absurd. Yep, opponent has one. So I probably just lose the game to that card, unfortunately. Like, I have uncounterable Ringleader here, but it's unclear that any of that is going to matter. Alright, Ringleader. Thank you. Very cool. Yeah, so, like, my opponent has what is probably a 3-turn clock in play that they played on turn 2. Sorry, on turn 3. They put a card on top there. They like whatever it is they see. Alright, and there's the Cracking of Bauble. Fantastic. Okay, we're dead. I just, like, absolutely cannot beat that card anymore. Like, I'll pretend like I can play an uncounterable Goblin Lackey and, like, spike a Muxus if my opponent does, like, literally nothing, but this is very much not happening. I'm gonna go ahead and attack in with a Goblin Ringleader, and I will play 2 Goblin Lackeys, second of which is uncounterable. Like, there's worlds where I hit really well on a Goblin Ringleader and can do some cool stuff with these, but I'm just, like, very much not expecting the Goblin Lackeys. Fucking Christ. Okay. Alright. Next match. Fuck Delver. Please ban something from this deck. It's so old. Hey folks, this video is sponsored by Top Decked, which is an all-in-one Magic the Gathering website / companion app run by my friend Lincoln Baxter III. This site does everything from allowing you to manage your collection online, store your deck lists, or even get things like articles and news at your fingertips. So please consider checking them out. Without sponsors like Top Deck and Card Hoarder, I literally couldn't do what I'm doing here. All right, back to the Magic. All right, round 2. I don't think this hand is quite keepable. It's close, but I'd rather mulligan into something more broken. This is not that. I have no playable cards in hand. This is easily the best hand thus far. Unsure what goes back. I think it's these two. Like, I can keep these two in conjunction, or I can just get rid of both. I think I want to get rid of both here, and assuming my hand does the things that I want my hand to do, like, one way or another, like Goblin Lackey plus these cards does something gross. We're very much banking on opponent not having a turn 1 removal spell. Like, that's the gambit with this hand. Are we lucky? Rove. A Chrome Mox would have to be involved in order for... Oh. That's a Maze of Ith. That's unfortunate. What the fuck are you doing, getting Tabernacle over Maze? That is a dangerous fucking decision. Alright. Yeah? Alright, so I do get to hit here. I think I'm just gonna take a Ringleader and try to get more cards out of my deck. Like, all I want to do is take, like, cards that aren't lands out of my deck. Alright, so we'll destroy our Ringleader, unfortunately. And then I'll pay for Lackey. This has kind of, like, not worked out for me. I think my opponent's decision was very wrong and very risky in regards to Wasteland, but it is working out for them. Ability... I will probably just grab a Muxus for later. All I need to do is draw a single land here. Like, drawing a single land means that I can keep Lackey and Muxus. Yes. Can't hit to save my life, though. Which is annoying. Alright. Are you going to now crop rotation for a Maze of Ith? Yep. Sure. This is going to be the least fun game of Magic I've ever played. Okay, opponent, like, can't actually produce any real mana, though. There is a Chrome Mox. That's very actively good for me. Let's put, like, a Munitions Expert under that. I'll attempt to crash in. Opponent will Maze, and that's fine. I'm fine with putting a Skirk Prospector into play. That means I at least get some damage. Am I a Wasteland deck? I need to check that. I'm not a Wasteland deck. Fine, I'll pay for my creatures. I am now getting 1 damage a turn in. It's not a lot, but it's something. Yep. Alright, opponent drops to 16. Attempt to tap down my fetch land if you want. I'll fetch a mountain here. I don't want to fetch wastelandable sources. Opponent has played out a Boseiju. I'm going to pay for my creatures. I'm going to pay for it using both of my lands so that my opponent can't actually use their Rishadan Port in the way that they want. I am going to continue to try to get my 1 point of damage in. There are things like Endurance that can happen that make this annoying. Yeah. This is probably miserable enough at this point that I'm willing to concede. Like, I'm not dead. Like, at some point I can draw sneak attack in Muxus, and take over the game in that capacity. Alright, opponent has opted to block Skirk Prospector over getting rid of Goblin Lackey. Alright, looks like opponent is going to pay for their Endurance. There's an Urza Saga. That's probably enough that I'm just, like, not realistically going to get in there to beat that. I'm gonna hemorrhage resources through this Tabernacle. Like, I can play out a Matron. Oh, wow. Like, I can play out a Matron, use that to get, like, Crash Master, sacrifice 2 goblins to destroy Urza Saga. I just don't really feel like I'm getting anywhere. Sling Gang is, I guess, interesting. I could try to assemble, like, Sling Gang, Pashalik Mons. Alright. I guess we can do something like that. Still gonna require me to just, like, give up some resources in a very negative way. I don't know, maybe I need the Trash Master to beat Urza Saga, though. Let's try to get this going. I need to Blood Moon my opponent. I'm just, like, not... Like, without Wastelands, I'm just not beating these lands. But, like, Moon is so strong. Okay, that Caracas means my whole Pashalik Mons plan is just not happening anymore. I'm gonna concede here. This is boring enough for me and bad enough content that I think it is worth it to just concede. And like the Caracas in play very specifically, shutting off like this line and making so that like sneak attacking in Muxus isn't gonna do as much as I want is rough. All right. I want Unlicensed Hearst to deal with the Graveyard and Blood Moon to deal with my opponent's assorted lands. It can be really awkward though, because like if they remove the Blood Moon with like a Force of Vigor or something like that, it can set up situations where I make it easier for my opponent to make a Merit Lodge. I'm not super big on Munitions Expert. I probably leave a few in the deck to fight against Urza Saga tokens and Endurance, but generally speaking, I don't think I like that card. I don't think I can play Sneak Attack in this matchup. Like, I don't mind it in some ways, but if I am going to board in 7 non-goblin cards, like, I have to cut some non-goblin cards here, otherwise, like, my ringleaders are just going to be very bad. Let's assume I cut a couple of those, maybe go down a couple of these effects. It's harder to build these, like, go-wide boards when my opponent just has relatively consistent access to Tabernacle. I'm going to keep this, but there's a lot of worlds where this, like, the same thing that happens last game happens again here. Where I just play a Lackey, my opponent crop rotations, and then I never get to do anything. But I think a hand that can threaten turn 2 Muxus is not mulliganable. Fantastic. Okay, that opens up some lines where my opponent can crop rotation for a relevant card. There's a Life from the Loam. That's good with me. So let's Muxus. Yeah. This is what we came here to do. There's the Muxus. Hey, that's not bad. There's a Sling Gang Lieutenant, which makes a bunch of creatures. Get a Goblin Matron trigger. I will use. I can get Pashalic Mons. And my opponent might be dead or very close to it. Yeah, let's do that. I play a land. Sacrifice a Goblin token for mana. I play Pashalic Mons. And then what this is? 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Not quite lethal, but very close to it. I've got insurance versus just about everything. Yeah. That's what we came here to do. Let's do that again. I don't think anything is going to change play versus draw here. This has no mana sources, so is an auto mulligan. This produces a Blood Moon on turn 1. This is an easy keep for me, throwing back a black card that is going to be hard to cast. Munitions Expert is just going under Blood Moon, or sorry, damn it, is just going under Chrome Mox on turn 1. Alright, this is significantly less good with this Mox in play. But it's still absolutely what I'm doing. Alright, Munitions Expert is under there. Then I'll play a Blood Moon. Since opponent had Mox Diamond in their opener, they have a lot of play against this that they otherwise would not have, fortunately. I am hoping to Trash Master away that Mox Diamond in the not-too-distant future. I'll need a little bit more mana to... Fuck me. God damn it. I'm just going to lose the game to Boseiju effect. Yeah. That's some shit. So this makes a Dark Depths, like Merit Lodge token immediately. And I have no recourse for that at all. So I'm dead. Good match. Okay, I have a bit of an awkward hand here. Like, I have Munitions Experts alongside Ancient Tomb. I have Sneak Attack, but don't have something fat to put in. I think I'm just going to mulligan this hand and try to find something that has some parts assembled. This isn't it. That said, I think I'm still just going to keep this rather than mulligan. And I'll probably throw back the Swamp. I think I am just going to play Mountain Skirk Prospector. It makes the Skirk Prospector counterable, but I don't actually care about it. Whereas I care about being wastelanded quite a bit. Alright, so we are playing against potentially Death and Taxes. Could be other things, but 60 card Death and Taxes is a decent bet. Alright, and then I'll kind of sandbag the Cavernous Souls until next turn. I don't really want to get a swamp. Okay, not Death and Taxes. We're playing against a blue control deck of some kind. Alright, so let's fetch. I think I'm just going to grab Basic Mountain. Do this on Goblin. And let's play the Haste Enabler in case we get saucy with the top deck. Another Swords to Plowshares. Unfortunate for me. See if opponent can play like a Teferi or Narset or something else incredibly impactful. Yes, it is Narset, so we are probably playing against a Jeskai Days Undoing deck. Yeah. And I can't pressure that Planeswalker here. So Days Undoing is just happening next turn. So I think I need to set up for the worlds where I top deck well. Play Goblin Matron here into a 1-drop. I think it's Lackey. It's possible Skirk Prospector is better. But I'm very potentially losing my hand this turn. Like, not in every world, but there's a lot of worlds where my opponent just, like, casts Days Undoing, dunks my hand, and then, like, holds up a Swords to Plowshares effect. Maybe not on this timeline, though. There's a Prismatic Ending. So they can Prismatic Ending my Lackey and then relatively safely just reload. Alright, there it is. They're not going for the immediate Days Undoing. To me, reads like my opponent has Hull Breacher. So I'm going to play this out this way. A Goblin King, so that this becomes a 2/2 that actually trades with Hull Breacher in combat. So I'll send my attack at Narset, my opponent. Okay, it's Snapcaster Mage instead, which is very noticeably worse. So my opponent gets to Swords to Plowshares Goblin King, and then trade with this in combat. And life's bad for me. Like, normally against a blue deck, like, this sitting in my hand would be infinite inevitability, but, like, versus Days Undoing, that's just not true. Alright, there is a Munitions Expert. I don't need to play this yet. This has Flash, and, like, this is just sitting there at an appropriate loyalty amount, where I don't need to mess with it. Because there's worlds where answering a Hull Breacher or something like that is more important. Okay, there is yet another Ponder. Alright, and we're chilling. Now, there are worlds where my opponent uses a removal spell on this Munitions Expert in response to my trigger, where I don't actually get to kill Narset. And that would make me sad. Sadness resolves. Yes, I will use Munitions Expert's ability. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and fetch a land out of my deck here to thin. I will make it a basic in case my opponent is playing some sort of main deck back to basics shenanigans. Alright. There's an uncounterable Goblin Matron. And now the question is, like, what am I getting here? If my opponent has another Days Undoing, anything that sits in my hand until next turn is bad. But most of the things that I play this turn are not super good. I think I am going to play towards the worlds where my next turn matters. Oh, there is a Hull Breacher. And we'll see if my opponent has another Days Undoing. Alright, there's a fetch to clear. There's Mystic Sanctuary, sure. Like, opponent is fishing for Days Undoing. It's just so strong once Hull Breacher is in play. Oh, that's pretty good too. That is going to just give my opponent, like, very good inevitability here, probably over inevitability over what I'm doing. Actually, I should attack and kill this now before my opponent does something random like Force of Wills, my uncounterable creature, just to make a creature of their own. Okay. Those are some hits. I mean, I guess I just play out a Lackey here. I don't really expect it to connect. But there's worlds. Like, if I draw a land... Alright. F6, like, do what you can do. Okay, there's the bounce on Lackey. And at any point, a Days Undoing taking all of these cards from me just ends me. Okay. There's the ability to shuffle. Let's see if I'm just dead. My opponents draw 7. Not yet. I will 100% trade these for Hull Breacher. 100%. Like, very unwilling to let that card stay in play and let another Days Undoing, like, punish me harder than it needs to. This might just mean they have another Hull Breacher. But, like, I get very bad at answering that due to Teferi. Let's fetch and just take a look at my situational goblins here. Well, it hasn't shown me a red source yet, which is kind of annoying, because I can't just mountain walk through everything right now. Munitions Expert is okay. Assembling Pashalik Mons plus Siege Gang Commander is also okay. Alright. Let's play an Uncounterable Goblin Matron. I'll use this ability. Kind of want to start assembling the team, so to speak. I can also just grab a Muxus. Can I play Muxus immediately? I grab it. Skirk Prospector, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Maybe I just grab a Muxus and set up for next turn. All of the setup for next turns are just like so bad against Hull Breacher into Days Undoing. But I think I'm just gonna live with that. Alright, there's a Goblin Sharpshooter. Okay, yeah, opponent is just making a 5/5 Shark. Pitching a Hull Breacher, interestingly. Alright. 5, 8, 9, 10 incoming damage. I die next turn. That's not great for me. We'll see what opponent can do. Yeah, opponent is just trying to turn the corner here. There's a lot of Muxus lines that kill my opponent. A lot of those just disappeared with this happening. Yep. Okay. I mean, it's now Muxus and Prey. Let's see where it goes. I can leave open Cavernous Souls to play Skirk Prospector afterwards. Alright, so opponent just making a 5/5 Shark here. That's fine. Like, opponent's either dead this turn, or I'm dead next turn. Everything has haste. That's a Sling Gang. That's pretty cool. So, I play an Uncounterable Skirk Prospector. Okay, I'm not 100% sure if my opponent was dead there, but I'm happy to have gotten the concession, as I was very much expecting to lose that game. Alright, what do I have for this opponent? The Pyroblasts are good. The Goblin Piledrivers aren't bad. Unlicensed Hearse is nice versus Snapcaster Mage, but otherwise is medium minus. I don't think I like Sneak Attack versus a deck that, like, can both answer the sneak attack stuff and is going to be attacking my hand and making it so that, like, my fatties that I'm holding in hand for this sort of stuff are, like, not gonna line up properly. I think those are going. Goblin King doesn't seem great. Like, I don't know what turn that was, but that was something like turn 14 and my opponent didn't show a mountain. I feel like there's probably at least one source in there for, like, some blasts and prismatic ending flexibility, but I didn't see it. That means opponent probably doesn't value it very highly. So that gets me blasts and probably the first pile driver. Chrome Mox is not very good versus a Teferi deck. I'm going to be a little mana light for doing this. I think I'm okay with that. Like, I expect these games to go on for a long time. And then, like, question is, like, do I want Hearse over some other random card here? Hearse is almost certainly better than something else that's in here. Probably Goblin Sharpshooter. Like, I know my opponent, like, very actively removed that card, and, like, that card would have been good, but if I assemble Sling Gang, Pashalik Mons, like, that should be good enough in a lot of scenarios. I don't think this hand is good enough. Like, turn 1 Unlicensed Hearse is really cool, but I need to utilize my mana in some way. Alright. Pyroblast does not work with this hand. I'm going to get rid of that. It's a card that I will probably want later, but I'm, like, very much not ready for it right now. And I think I care about the right now more than anything else with this hand. Ponder away. Yeah, if I had a single true red source in this hand, I would have kept the Pyroblast. It's just, like, so bad when I don't have access to the Pyroblast. I think I'm just gonna play... I'm gonna play Ancient Tomb this turn. It means I can't Munitions Expert next turn, but, like, there shouldn't be any worlds where I need to do that. Like, opponent's not just going to play out a naked Snapcaster, for example, that I can kill, and I'm not expecting them to have anything that accelerates out, like a Narset or something. Even if they did, Munitions Expert isn't killing that there. Alright, good stuff. That is interesting with this. I will be playing Cavern on Goblin, for sure. And then the only real 3-mana play I have is Goblin Matron. Is uncounterable. Yes, I will use this ability. And I think I am going to grab a Muxus. I'm kind of in this weird situation where I have a lot of endgame. There's a mountain. Okay. Anyway, I'm kind of in this weird situation where I have a lot of endgame. I just don't have a lot of ability to deal with, like, the whole Hull Breacher combo thing. I think I just like playing an aggressive card here. Like, if this eats a Force of Will plus a blue card, that's pretty good for me. Yeah, that was a good trade for me. And I'll just kind of give a love tap with this card. I've got Pyroblast for, like, a Teferi or a Narset or something that gets played out. But I don't have to deal with that immediately, which is cool. I think I'll make an attack into Hull Breacher and Pyroblast it if it happens. Munitions Expert is probably going to be a dead card in my hand for a little while. Very nice. I think I'll go ahead and play out a Lackey and hold up Pyroblast. Like, the way I lose is getting comboed. Surgical Extraction on Goblin Chieftain. This is a classic don't surgical that screenshot. I don't think there is any one card in my deck that is actually worth surgicaling. Alright, no end of turn Hull Breacher. Opponent knows that I have Pyroblast, so, like, there's that. Alright, we're chilling. We're chilling. I am comfortable Oh, we're just done? Okay, that seems lazy, but sure. We're on the scoreboard, folks! Alright, we are playing against a Yorion deck of some kind. I have a sneak attack and multiple Muxus in hand. I am legally required to keep this hand. Alright, are we playing against Death and Taxes? We are. Okay, there's the initial... mana good, need mana, good draw, fast turn. The Vial on turn 1 is the dream for my opponent's deck. Oh, that's annoying for me. I'd like to draw another basic land. That's... Alright. So, this game got very hard. Like, I can Goblin Matron for a removal spell, but then that offers up the Ancient Tomb to Wasteland, and I really need that Ancient Tomb to power through Thalia. I don't know. I can Ancient Tomb, Goblin Matron for Munitions Expert, use that to kill Thalia. I might need to do something like that. It's super awkward if Mother of Runes gets involved. It's also super awkward if I just, like, play Cavern of Souls, like, pass, it gets wastelanded. And then my opponent just, like, drops a port. I might need to just, like, make some forward progress and make some plays that force my opponent to interact with me. Alright, yes. Up a Munitions Expert. And then after I get wastelanded, I still just have, like, Cavern, Munitions Expert, use that to take out Thalia. Gonna be awkward in the face of Caracas, but, you know. God damn it. Why do I talk? Why do I talk and bring these things upon myself? What the fuck are you doing? Yorion to hand is not good play. I wish I drew Ancient Tomb to just, like, max punish that line. From here, everything is very strange. Because I'm going to have a very hard time reading my opponent for the rest of this game, because that line is absolutely baffling to me. Like, is this an inexperienced player who just made a very obvious mistake, or is this, like, a clear bait to try to get me to Munitions Expert the Thalia so that a Stoneforge Mystic lives? No idea. Let's put this on Goblin and pass the turn, I think. I don't think I want to risk an attack in. You've got your priority, like, activate your Vial. Okay, that's fine. Okay. This is annoying for me. I'm good with wasting my opponent's mana here. I think this opens up some lines for me if I draw an Ancient Tomb. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, it keeps it out of play for at least a turn cycle, which matters to me. Okay, cool. I still need another land drop. There is a Chieftain. A Skyclave makes some of this stuff very awkward. I don't think I'm actually going to take any attacks here. Okay, why are we doing this with this timing? Like, you potentially get a better mid-combat blowout if you don't wait. Okay, you've got a Flicker Wisp, sure. I'm about to lose one of these creatures at end of turn. It's going to be this one. Do I care if I lose both? I am fine trading a Flicker Wisp for one of these bodies right now. Then that's one more thing that is not going to eat a Yorion. Alright, that's fine. Then I lose Munitions Expert, probably. Lose Matron, sure. Alright, so they're going up towards Yorion off Vial, which will be very good. You know what else will be very good? My opponent being dead. Alright. I don't know that this is something that, like, my opponent could have ever anticipated, but, like, there was very much a reason why I was taking that Thalia out of play. And it was to do exactly this line that I've been working towards for the last few turns. So let's activate this. Put in Muxus, see how gross I can make this turn. There are some triggers, folks. There are some triggers. Let's put these matrons on the bottom. Goblin Ringleader. Lol. I'll draw 4. I guess I draw 4 more. Okay. This is a little bit of a mess. Don't have a way to get a single mana, unfortunately. Single mana would really let me go off here. I grab a Skirk Prospector with one of these. Yes, I'll grab like a Munitions Expert with another. Alright. Would like to go to combat. I will attack with everything that is capable of attacking. Muxus gets Swole. Muxus is getting chump blocked rather than bounced here. I'm good with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So opponent is not quite dead, unfortunately. Oh, I should have eaten there. All right, Warren Instigator can go. A Matron can go. Munitions Expert, I guess, can go. I have such a wealth of riches here. Don't think it matters too much what I do. Already discard you. Okay, cool. I'll take 3 damage. Yeah, that's fine. Go to 8. All right, there is another Solitude. That's pretty strong. I don't think it matters. Target player, target you. I'll sacrifice this to its own ability. And I am very much going to have more than... Again? That is kind of insane. Alright, so I lose my Mountain Walk there. And then this whole Yorion thing happens, and they can clear out a couple of my goblins. But it is just, like, very much not going to matter. I guess they can Flicker Wisp out my sneak attack, and that makes life slightly more awkward for me. But then I think I just win at the end step. Yeah. This life is also just, like, very relevant as well. So I can activate sneak attack twice, and then I have 3 other mana to work with. Putting in Sling Gang and Pashalik Mons alone just very easily kills my opponent, right? Like, or I guess I can cast Pashalik Mons. Yeah, cast Pashalik Mons. Activate Sneak Attack, put in Muxus for more bodies. Then put in Sling Gang. Yeah, that very easily kills my opponent. Oh, actually, there's opposing Karakas. That's actually annoying. So I can play Goblin Sharpshooter with my mana instead. Then put in Sling Gang. And Goblin Chieftain to give it haste. Alright. Muxus also probably works. Alright, end step. Whole Flicker Wisp thing happens. Opponent is bouncing their Yorion. That drops interaction. Which is great. activate Sneak Attack. With my Goblin's Haste. Sharpshooter target you. Activate Sneak Attack. Put in Sling Gang Lieutenant. Sacrifice a Goblin Matron. Untap that. Target you. Drain you 1. Target you. Sacrifice this. And repeat this process until my opponent is dead. Yeah. To tap that. Sling Gang, target you. Junking Goblin token. Tap that, target you. Sacrifice a Goblin there. Do my untapping. Sacrifice a Goblin. Untap. Yeah. And we drain with a little extra to go. Had to jump through some hoops. Opponent's triple Solitude plus Yorian situation was not something that I was intending to play around. I think opponent punted that one. Like, they potentially, like, could have sniffed out that something weird was going on. That, like, I took an obvious line that was trying to take a Thalia out of play, and they could have redeployed Thalia. Alright, I imagine I don't have a lot for this matchup. I can choose to play Blood Moon. Because as we saw, if I get to higher mana amounts, my Muxus shenanigans will obliterate what my opponent is doing. I don't really like Warren Instigator. I think that card is very unlikely to get in. I also don't really like Goblin Lackey in the matchup, honestly. For similar reasons. I don't really love Pashalik Mons and other legendary creatures in this matchup versus, like, the 4x Caracas deck. And it's, like, so good if it works, because this is any target. I'd probably keep it in. On the draw, like, these Goblin Lackeys are just, like, not gonna do their thing. I also don't really love Chrome Mox. Like, I have a lot of things I don't love. This Goblin King is probably expendable as well. So this is 2 cuts. It seems really weird to cut 2 Goblin Lackeys. That is just such a strange thing to do. But I think I'm doing it. At least when I'm on the draw. I want them when I'm on the play. This is a pretty medium-looking opening hand. I'm not doing anything fast. I have Sharpshooter plus Lieutenant. I don't have the mana to get there. I can't Disrupt a Vial. Can't just immediately Blood Moon. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. This is another very medium-looking hand that has some amount of fast mana, so I think I keep it. But I'm not really a fan of this either. Alright, there is an Aether Vial start that I'm not super well equipped to deal with. Just got rid of that card, too. Alright. Such is life. I can, like, draw a Trash Master or something, and all of a sudden things look kind of cool. Let's see what opponent can do. I'm trying not to use this Chrome Mox, so, like, Thalia can happen some portion of the time here. Cycle Timeless Dragon. That could have happened at instant speed. There is a Sneak Attack. I think I am good with giving up a very relevant card in the matchup to just power that out now. It's a little awkward, because, like, Skyclave Apparition is something that can happen. In which case, this doesn't feel super good. I guess I should have taken my attack before playing that out. Not something that's very likely to matter, but there are cards. Alright, so let's power this out, and then all of a sudden, like, the Muxus type cards will be considerably better if I top deck them. Like, Muxus and Ringleader and Matron are very good top decks now. Alright, no end of turn Mom. I've got a 3 of Skyclave Apparition. 4 of Skyclave Apparition, probably. That I care about this turn, and maybe a 1 of Council's Judgment. To a lesser extent, Cathar Commando, I guess, is also something that I need to think about. But, yeah. Alright, is there a Containment Priest? There is a Containment Priest. If I had something super cool, I could just do it in response to that. I don't. Opponent has shut off their Aether Vial, though. That's pretty big news for me. That's also pretty big news for me. That means I can cast a Muxus, in theory, if I draw one. Alright, this goes on Goblin. I get to play out a Sling Gang. And now I'm chilling. I think opponent is slightly favored in the current spot considering their wasteland. But I have a lot of very scary draws here. Oh, Urza Saga. Sure. I am very much not a fan of that card in Death and Taxes, for the record. I just, like, do not feel like the upsides that you get for it are worth the disappearing land problem in your, like, Yorion deck. And that is also playing things like Timeless Dragon and Mana Sinks like Batterskull and equipment. Jete is not super good here. Like, I have a shit ton of expendable bodies and you have no flyers. Alright. I don't have a lot to say about that because, like, I have very clearly flooded out, but I don't think Jete was better than Kaldra in that spot. The trample from Kaldra is super relevant. I don't know. If opponent has Pithing Needle as an Urza Saga fetch target, like, probably comes out in the wash. I also feel like opponent can be making some pokes here. Hey, that's a Muxus. Opponent, like, did not wasteland me to potentially take me off of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. There's worlds where I want access to colored mana after this. Skirk Prospector helps out a lot, but I think I'm going to take damage from the Ancient Tombs here. Let's make this uncounterable. Oh, there is still Containment Priest. Yeah, whatever. Might just need the large body here. Shouldn't have forgot about Containment Priest. I shouldn't have paid the extra life there. That was bad on me. But I do think it was correct to play this as a body that forces that Karakas activation. I just, like, should have tapped differently. I cost myself 2 life that I didn't need to cost myself. And kind of a cool thing here is I have 2 different sacrifice outlets, so I'm not just stone cold dead to Shadow Spear. Sure. Trample's really annoying. I feel like opponent probably could have set this up better. What did they do last turn? Like, they could have potentially gotten Jete counters this turn, right? By giving up an Urza Saga construct token. Lackey is no good for me. Alright. I think my opponent's Shadow Spear kind of puts them over the top here in a way that I'm not going to come back from. Alright. There is a bounced Muxus. Actually, I guess if I take Containment Priest out of play, I get a lot of room to mess around with stuff here. It's really annoying. I think I'm just going to eat this damage and see where this goes. I need to, like, draw an answer to Containment Priest. Probably this turn. Use target player. I'll sacrifice this to his own ability. And my opponent will potentially also kill Skirk Prospector because that card's scary. Negative. Okay. So, I'm going to kind of go all in here and see what I can put together. Phallic Mons. Okay. I think I'm good. Not 100%. But this feels very good. Alright. Play Pashalic Mons. Opponent needs to remove Skirk Prospector right now or they lose the game. Fuck, they saw it. So, now I need to go up to 4 mana. Means doing that. And then I can play Sling Gang. I sacrifice 2 goblins to kill Containment Priest. And then I put in Muxus. I think I need 1 more mana here off of the Lackey. There we go. I'm going to absolutely lose my shit if I win this game. Alright. There is Sling Gang Lieutenant. Alright. So, sacrifice a goblin. You lose a life. Phallic Mons shoots Containment Priest. And then repeat that process. Sacrificing this goblin. Shooting Containment Priest. Containment Priest is now dead. Now, I activate Sneak Attack. Putting in a Muxus. Oh, yeah. Will I use his ability? Yes. I probably get a new Skirk Prospector without thinking about it too hard. So, I use 1 red mana to play Skirk Prospector. I sacrifice this Muxus get red. Then I'll ping my opponent. I'll then activate Sneak Attack, putting in a new Muxus, which gets me a Goblin Matron. Yes. That is going to get me another Muxus. I'll sacrifice... Oh, shit, I have a Sharpshooter now involved. I have a feeling my opponent is dead. Alright, I will sacrifice this Muxus for a red mana and ping my opponent. Untaps Sharpshooter, which pings my opponent. Now I have 1 red mana. I have no Muxus in play. I'll activate Sneak Attack, putting in a Muxus. Finds me double Munitions Expert. That can kill a Construct and a Stoneforge Mystic, I guess. Yes. A creature dies. I untap Sharpshooter. I Sharpshooter my opponent. Yes, I will use this ability. I'll untap this. I'll Sharpshooter. Kill Thalia. Untapping my creature. Kill Recruiter of the Guard, which untaps my creature. I'll go to combat, and I will swing all of those creatures sideways. What the fuck just happened, YouTube? What the fuck just happened? I won. I won that game. I won that match. That was fucking insane. Good job, Phil. You ate a lot of clock there figuring that shit out, but good job, Phil. I literally don't believe we won that. Wow. I believe in a world where Goblin Lackey gets to attack on turn 2 and dump Muxus into play. Believe in that future for me and for you. Alright, my opponent has kept their 7, and I obviously will be keeping my 7 as well. Like, this is a... Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh. Alright. Is there any world in which I beat this Grizzlebrand? Probably not, right? I should probably just concede and not let my opponent know what deck I am. I don't think there's any world in which I am beating that Grizzlebrand, especially after, like, my whole Goblin Lackey Muxus thing gets taken from me. Dang it. We're also, like, very much not prepared for this matchup. I have 3 unlicensed Hearse, and I can maybe think about playing Mindbreak Trap, but it's not that good. I am probably going to get rid of Goblin King and Goblin Trashmaster. And then, like, I'll maybe cut 1 Munitions Expert. They technically can remove creatures like Grizzlebrand, but actually, I can probably get rid of a Sharpshooter. And then I'm going to try to not play Mindbreak Traps when I'm on the play. I'm going to play them when I'm on the draw, if we make it to a game 3. This is turn 1 Goblin Lackey into turn 2 Goblin Matron for Muxus. In the worlds where I do not get turn 1, this hand is very good. I will keep this. However, I am very skeptical that this hand is actually good enough. I can grab Badlands pretty safely here. Goblin Lackey. And we'll see how this goes. Alright. 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 I'm not really expecting removal from my opponent, so here we go. Ancient Tomb. 3 mana. Goblin Matron. Trigger happens. Yes. Grab Muxus. Go to combat. I believe in turn 2 Goblin Lackey. Getting in the red zone. Doing crime. A Munitions Expert. This is a May. I have to place this on the stack, and then I just say no to it. Alright, so I don't have anything in play that lets me cheat mana here, unfortunately. So now I see if my opponent can, like, Entomb for Sarah, what's-her-face. Oh, it's, air quotes, just a Grizzlebrand. That might be beatable. I don't know that it is, but it might. Like, don't have any way to sacrifice any of my creatures for sick value. Alright, opponent is doing a draw 7. I guess I have no response to anything that my opponent can do, so, like, do your worst. Sarah as Emissary is, I think, unbeatable. But, like, if opponent had that in their deck, it already should be in play, right? It's like that on creatures, like, I just literally cannot beat. So, maybe I am in luck in that regard. This is not going as fast as it would if I was just, like, outright dead. So that's the good news. Okay, there is an Evoked Grief. Skirk Prospector is actually really good on this board, because I can just, like, sacrifice whatever Grizzlebrand blocks, and then my opponent doesn't gain life and potentially dies. There is an Archon of Cruelty. Just get rid of a Matron here. It's not Skirk Prospector, which probably means it's Sneak Attack. Alright, Grizzlebrand is going deeper. Opponent potentially just looking for an out to my Skirk Prospector. Alright, they're going. They're going to 1? Good God. Alright, I mean, like, do your thing. You've got 18 cards in hand. Like, I'm F6'd. Uh-oh. What is that finding? It's just another Archon of Cruelty. Yeah, they don't have the Sarah's Emissary. Ooh, that's a Skirk Prospector in play. Goblin Matron better in any capacity. I don't have, like, a Sting Scourger or anything like that. Goblin Matron can get direct damage, but I have to draw a mana source for that to happen, or I have to keep Skirk Prospector. I think with my opponent at 1, I just take Skirk Prospector to play, so that my opponent can't do multiple discard spells to take this from hand. Grab a Skirk Prospector, and then I'll discard Goblin Chieftain. I can stack a Munitions Expert here. Discard a Chieftain. Oh shit, opponent gains life doing that. I forgot about that side. Yeah, so I've succeeded in having a Skirk Prospector in play to fight Grizzlebrand. Now opponent discards a bunch of stuff. They Cavern. Alright, if I attack with everything, my opponent blocks. If I attack with everything, my opponent wins if they block Grizzlebrand on Chieftain, I think. I have exactly 4 damage if Chieftain is alive, otherwise I have 2 damage. If I just attack with Muxus, my opponent just chump blocks, and then I am dead in the air. So I'm going in. It's just on my opponent to make proper blocks. Alright, Muxus is big. Oh shit! Oh shit, they fucked up! They fucked up! They fucked up! Sacrifice. There's 4 incoming damage. We take those. Yeah! Yep. Yep. Play to your outs. I think on the draw I need Mindbreak Trap to help. What don't I want? Ringleaders don't seem super important, like, game is over before that sort of thing happens. I think that's my cut. Like, Ringleaders and Pashalik Mons seem like things that require setup or time, which are not things that I'm really expecting to have. I don't know, like, Ringleader is a better put in for Goblin Lackey in a lot of cases over Pashalik Mons. So maybe I split those, leaving a Pashalik Mons in the deck to tutor for in weird situations, and keeping another Ringleader for sneak attack based lines. Alright. This has been a weird league, one way or another. Auto mulligan, no mana sources. There is a Mindbreak Trap. How is the rest of this hand? Not good. Like, this is a hand that does nothing other than have a Mindbreak Trap. So I think I'm going to try to go deeper. This is missing stuff, but Mindbreak Trap maybe saves it. So I'm going to keep this. Pitching 1 Muxus, and I guess a Goblin Chieftain. But I don't have Surgicals or Leylines or anything like that for this matchup, which is really what I need. We're hoping, like, that opponent goes, like, land, Dark Ritual, Entomb, Reanimate, and I get to hit that Reanimate. Or something like that. If my opponent, like, 2 turn steps this and does, like, end of turn Entomb into just go off, like, they dodge my hate. Opponent is on 5, though. There's Worlds. There's Worlds where I get a little lucky. Alright, opponent is doing their thing. We'll see if I get there with my Mindbreak Trap. That second spell, a Reanimate on a Grief. Grief can just take anything, right? Non-land card. Yeah, this isn't a great Mindbreak Trap, but I still think I'm doing it. Like, this is free. And, like, my plan is get lucky, draw red source, win with Muxus. That's not great. I guess it gets me towards hard casting the Muxus, but just drawing a red source for Warren Instigator would be faster. Alright. Grief is getting reanimated. That probably just takes the Muxus. Oh, it took the Instigator. Okay. Sure. Hell yeah. Hearse is great. I am very happy to pick up that card. I am not going to start activating that immediately, because there's some worlds where my opponent targets me to reanimate my Warren Instigator. But in the worlds where that doesn't happen, I get to have my opponent's graveyard down to 0 cards in the not-too-distant future. I kind of think my opponent was supposed to take the Muxus with the discard spell, because, like, that is a better reanimation target for them. And, like, I have double Ancient Tomb, so it's relatively easy for me to cast a Muxus, assuming I get some red mana. Alright. So I'll take out Looting, and the other card doesn't really matter. Alright, good stuff. Skirk Prospector. That is a very good draw. Skirk Prospector means that I have 6 mana for Muxus next turn. Like, totally happy with that. Yeah, I think I'm going to steal a W here. Yeah, that is a concession. And we redeem this league after a rough start and end up 3-2. Overall thoughts on the deck list. It's tough. Because when this deck pops off, my god, it is beautiful. Like, to go from, like, nothing versus Death and Taxes to removing Containment Priest, and then, I don't remember what they were at. They were, like, at, like, 24 life with, like, 6 creatures in board, and they ended up, like, dead with no creatures. And, like, this deck can go off extremely hard when things go correct. But I'm not sure what portion of the time things go correct so that you can just, like, do your thing. I got stuck just short of Muxus or just short of Sneak Attack a good number of times. And I think a couple of my wins were due to my opponent's punting. Like, I lose that matchup to Reanimator if my opponent does onboard blocks correctly, right? Like, they just, like, block the creature that I have to sacrifice and play around an onboard trick. And I lose that one. And I think I also lose to, like, the Death and Taxes player, like, replaying their Thalia. I think there were a handful of situations like that where, like, I got wins due to, like, the rogue advantage of, or the brewer's advantage of my opponents, like, not being super familiar with the interactions that my deck could do. And that maybe doesn't give the strongest thumbs up to the deck, generally speaking. I'm not sure about some of these singletons here. The singleton Warren Instigator feels a little weird to me. I get that it's Goblin Lackey, number 5. But with only 3 Chrome Mox, that doesn't happen on turn 1 very frequently. I don't know how I feel about Goblin King. Like, I definitely searched it up a couple of times. And, like, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I'm very unsure. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not sure if I want, like, Warren Instigator and Goblin King versus additional copies of Goblin Chieftain or Goblin War Chief. I'm very unsure about that. I'm also unsure if I want, like, Goblin Sharpshooter in the main deck. It did some gross things, like when you couple together, like, Sling Gang, Goblin Sharpshooter, and Pashalik Mons in some combination. But, like, do you need to have all of those, or is having access to 2 of those good enough? Hard to say. As far as the sideboard goes, I might want some other stuff for unfair decks instead of Goblin Piledriver. I don't know. Like, maybe Goblin Piledriver is a way that I should have played versus Reanimator. Like, I should have just boarded in that card and, like, used Goblin Piledriver as something that kills my opponent. Like, maybe I missed that in sideboarding there. I very much liked the Blood Moons. Like, despite the fact that, like, this deck has a couple of black cards, like, Blood Moon felt like a very good sideboard option. And I don't know how I could beat something like Lands without it, realistically speaking. The Double Swamp got awkward a couple of times in terms of casting my red pip cards. Like, that's going to happen. But ultimately, this This deck gets like the very wiggly thumbs up, where I like a lot of the potential that this deck has, and this is probably a great FNM deck. I don't know how much like super competitive potential this has, but like when this deck goes off, it goes off and it's sweet, and in that capacity, it definitely gets my seal of approval. All right, that was a long-winded outro there, but I hope that was useful. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. Helps out quite a bit. If you're new here, please consider subscribing if you liked what you saw today. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!